Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Not the Andrew Neil show again. A little discussion on the First Minister's question times, 31st to 5th, 12th. We've got Rob Munn with us, SNP man, ex-SNP councillor, and the usual Phil, the Irish Englishman. Phil's a pundit now, we've decided. He's a pundit. Myself, Norrie Stewart, cartoonist when I can actually find time to do any. So guys, what did you think? General view of today?
Starting off with Lamont and a band at the back. Obviously anti-Scottish, mocking every time, and she was going on about what's happening with the Bank of England when you become independent. From what I've got from Salmond, quite obviously, well, this is what will happen. You're in, as he was putting it, the Sterling zone, which seemed to bring up lots and lots of laughs. Again, it appears to be rather childish and rather moronic. It's that unionist bit. I mean, if they're going to be a union, at least try and be a union of intelligence. So then,
I was surprised at how definite Nicola Sturgeon was when the question was asked on, I think it was Sunday, about what was going to happen.
Well, they're a government. I mean, they're not going to stand there. If they have had talks and intimations from, yes, that would be quite normal, they're not going to stand there in public and start telling people there that can then go off and use them, as usual, for a perfectly negative purpose. I mean, they're the government. They're not there. I mean, and that's what doesn't get around the others, is they are actually the government, 45% of the vote the last time. I mean, take it on the chin and try and work positively with them.
What did you think of Lamont today?
It was a typical performance from her. I've had the great fortune not to be available to watch many of her performances, but often hear highlights at night, and it sounded like the kind of the usual to me, and the rabble behind her, I think, let the Labour Party down and the people of Scotland.
That was very noticeable today, that they were acting like they were in Westminster. You know, boo-hooing. I don't know whether they got one of the Tory Westminster emails to put up a wall of sound, but it's very childish, very disappointing. Very disappointing.
And then you had Ruth. There she was whipping up anti-EU, anti-Irish. You know, I mean, sorry, coming from being London Irish, I mean, having a look, if you're in Northern Ireland or in Southern Ireland, it's 32 counties, it's Ireland. We don't need some anti-Irish unionists to start telling us that they're foreigners. Who else is she going to pick on next?
What part of it's the EU rules does she not get?
Well, she's a Tory. They hate they like their little xenophobic.
Well, there's nothing someone can do about it.
No.
Well,
and he got the figures. I did like the figures. He got it down to the 11. Got it right down to even that odd one on. He had the figures. Proved it.
I still think she's quite a good performer. I think.
Oh yeah,
she hasn't got a full armoury because the Tories are in power in Westminster. What do you think about her?
I think generally she comes over quite impressive. There's a bit of humour there, but sometimes she walks into a few traps because of the Westminster connection.
She does operate well on her feet.
She should be a bit cleverer than that, I would have thought.
I think, I don't know, I get the feeling she's restrained. She hasn't quite got the kudos that Annabel Goldie had. Annabel Goldie worked really well with Salmond. It was almost like, a straight man and a funny guy at times.
Yeah.
But she came out with lots of kudos. I think Ruth Davis is getting there, but I don't think she's going to get there quickly enough.
But Annabel Goldie had the advantage of, the SNP never had that huge majority. There wasn't that roller coaster heading towards greater devolution. She's got to really take a more hard-nosed unionist attitude. And Annabel, completely different, far more professional.
But she didn't hit the unionist note today, Ruth Davis. That was left to Joanne Lamont.
Oh, she was doing the unionist bit, right? I mean, not the unionist against the SNP, but that unionist in being anti-Irish, anti-EU. Very, very much the conservative line there, I thought.
Daily Mail kind of attitude to everything.
They're going to get swamped with Irish. I mean, they should have tried looking where I come from, Cricklewood, 33rd County of Ireland.
Willie Rennie, Rob?
I can't make my mind up about Willie Rennie. I had the impression he tries hard. He is perhaps a bit too aggressive. And if
Was
you temper
aggressive
that,
today.
certainly today, I felt like he was very aggressive. To be fair, the First Minister didn't really answer his question. But
No, he ignored it.
so
it's
I
a
think
funny
that's
one.
fair enough. But
I have to admit to it being close to my heart as an ex-fireman. Firefighter. But the comms thing is it's one that will run because a single comms setup will not work. There's too much local knowledge required.
yeah.
We get it in Leith with
Yeah.
Fire Engine Lane, which is industry lane.
Yeah.
Now, if you're local, that's what you call it, Fire Engine Lane, because there used to be a fire station there. Then there's 4 or 5 addresses that I came across in my career, and it is important because people could die.
Yeah.
Now, whether what they do is they have people from the local areas moving into a big comms unit,
Mm-hmm.
which has advantages because you've got cross knowledge all the time. But it's a difficult one for me.
Yeah.
It's certainly, I think it's one where in that position, I would chase the
Yeah.
Scottish Government about.
So
Certainly.
I suppose on that issue, we've seen what happened with William and Borders Police in the
Yeah.
early days of the Bilston
Yeah.
centre,
Yeah.
where there was a control centre in Leith Police Station, and that was done away with, and there was a problem with.
Well, at one
With
time,
response
every fire
rates
station.
and very kind of local knowledge, because somebody sitting out in Bilston didn't know the
When I-
intricacies of
When I
certain
joined,
addresses in Leith or elsewhere.
you had flaps that dropped down and clacked when you got a call. There was no
Mhm.
bell. Flaps that dropped down and clacked, and wires. Clicked it, taken a photo. Seriously. And then you hit the bell and turned everybody out, which actually meant you got a situation where there could be nobody on station because you were still on the run, even though you were answering the calls. You could have nobody on station, and another call would come in if somebody made a mistake. Police, because it was police that contacted us, if they hadn't realised you'd gone, there would be nobody to answer the phone.
Yeah, I thought Willie actually, out of all the questions, he was the one that was probably worrying people more on that, and there is more. But like he did very well last week, and he's dogged. You know that I think he's dogged more. I can't imagine him being aggressive. I mean, he just doesn't look. You know, it's that dogged. He doesn't. He's like he's got a wee terrier with a bone.
He did try today.
Mm.
I mean, I've been quite impressed with him.
He's improving.
He's definitely, well, both Ruth and him make Lamont look a bit.
Oh, Lamont. I mean, it fills me with despair because it always comes over so anti-Scottish. And my problem is, what happens if they do get independent? If you do get independence, what are they going to do? What are they going to do when they go into the next election? Are they going to go in on a premise? We'll go back into the union, and because that appears to be what it is. They don't have. There's no debate within the Labour Party on what is likely to happen and other alternatives, i.e. Devo Max. It's all no, 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 no. It's very depressing.
It was a couple of years
And
ago.
then you've got Simpson as well. It was quite laid back.
Well, see, again,
Simpson.
who was the Tory that stood up at the end and asked the question?
Murdo Fraser.
Right.
The Independent
One
Conservative.
Now, that was, what's he doing?
Mm.
He's letting the SNP say, your government in Westminster isn't answering our questions, so we can't answer yours. What he's doing is being a good constituency MP.
What he's also doing is because he
Yeah,
actually
SP.
believes in changing the name, because he's actually having a look into the future and looking for when it might be independent or Devo Max. He wants to drop that name, Toxic Tory. He really wants to be a Christian Democrat. He wants to be a normal right-wing European Parliament. He wants to distance himself to that toxicity from south of the border.
Well, before I forget, scores on the doors. Joanne Lamont?
Today, I'll give her slightly better than last week. I'll give her 5. That's 5. That's what she's getting on me.
I think that's fair. I would give her a 5 as well.
No, I'm giving her a 4 because she's not learning any lessons.
No.
Ruth Davidson?
Better delivery, and unfortunately, I'll give her a 5 as well. Then there's that conservative toxicity.
Well, I'd give her a 6 because I mean she moved on her feet. Her opening remarks,
Sorry, it's down the Irish. I was going to go lower.
I'll take it on the chin if I ask the wrong question. Comment. That's cool. So I'll give her a 6.
I I think it's a 4 for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Very anti.
Like a man that hates a Tory.
Yeah, and then there's
I
Willie.
wouldn't say that, but
No.
I just think in terms of the performance and the question she asked, yeah,
That's the big problem everybody's got,
you know,
the content of the questions.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's very bad. And Willie Rennie, doggedness, and well, actually, considering he was actually being positive, he was trying to get an answer about something that was concerning people, and there is a problem there actually. I'd give him the 6.
I'll go one over that. I'll give him a 7.
That's because you're a firefighter.
Well, no, it's because he's consistently picked questions that are relevant. Well, the last 2 weeks he has, put it that way. And the questions that are difficult for Salmon to give him an answer to.
So he doesn't.
So he hasn't. That's 2 weeks Salmon has ignored him. So he's getting something on the table that is difficult for Salmon to deal with, which is his job. So I'm definitely a 7 for him.
Yeah, I think likewise, because it was quite clear to me that the First Minister had 2 opportunities to actually answer the question and he didn't. So it suggests to me that the question was a good question to ask. So,
What about Broek?
well, as usual, I think he is head and shoulders above the rest of them. And once you get past the kind of volume level that he starts off with Joanne Lamont and continues with the other leaders, he is well briefed generally on everything,
Yeah, very well briefed.
and able to think on his feet, and
We all accept he's in a different
he's
league.
in a different league.
But how did he perform within his own sphere today?
I thought it was really, particularly after last week. Particularly after last week when he just got caught and he had such an opportunity, and I think he let Scotland down there as well, with the bit about the McGratty and the integrity of Scotland's justice system. But this week, apart from not answering Willie Rennie, I'll give him 9.5, just because he didn't answer Willie Rennie's question.
I'm not going to be that generous. I'm giving him an 8.5 because I'm sorry, he should have an answer for that. Even if it's a we're in discussions with answer.
Probably has an answer you don't want to hear.
You know. Yourself?
I'll go with a 9.
9. Yeah,
There we go.
he's still there.
So he's average 9. So.
Before we finish this week, I had the impression that the line the Unionists are going to take, with the honourable exception of Willie Rennie, certainly the 2 ladies that were standing up today, seem to be going down the road that they're going to fight the SNP as being a bunch of arrogant sods. That was Lamont's point. Ruth Davidson said the same thing. What do you reckon? Is that going to be the battle line for the next few months?
Well, actually from both their parties, particularly Labour, and if you look at Labour in Scotland, what you mean he's actually stealing our clothes. What a cheat. I'd give it with Salmon, I'd say it's a lot more of confidence. I definitely wouldn't call it arrogance. You get maybe a bit of arrogance with confidence, but probably that is the way. And also mocking. If you get people to laugh at your enemy, to mock your enemy, that's when...
Salmon.
And that's what they're trying... That's what that whole carry-on was, laughing at everything. It almost as if, they'd had a choreograph before the meeting, right now, all get ready to laugh. I thought it was
I thought the
childish.
Labour Party did themselves no favours with
Not
their
good at all.
behaviour today. What about you, Rob? What do you think?
Yeah, I wasn't impressed by the behaviour of the other Labour members today. I think that there's been a developing theme to whether it's the anti-independence campaign or just the anti-SNP campaign, to portray the SNP and Alex Salmon in particular as being arrogant, and I'm getting particularly fed up with headlines as we saw in the Daily Mail the other day about the Great Dictator or something like that, which you can laugh at to some point, but it's becoming tiresome, I think, and I don't think it adds to things, because if people actually looked at the results last year, it's not an overwhelming majority. It's a majority was achieved in a parliament
More
with
than
an
Tony
electoral
Blair ever
system
got.
which shouldn't have allowed it to happen. It did, because the what if question was never asked about that electoral system. And it's what if what if the voters vote SNP with both votes consistently and at a high enough level? So that gave him the majority, but he's nowhere near what you would want to call a dictator. He's a an elected politician, an elected First Minister for Scotland, just as we've had before, and just as we've had Prime Ministers at Westminster. The electorate will decide in the future.
Well, thanks guys. Good discussion today. Appreciate you turning out for us. Thank you.
Thank you.